at sea for almost a week now, and there's still no sign of any ice. We must be getting close though, because up on the bridge, Pedro, our second mate, is on the lookout for icebergs. We're heading from Hobart to Casey Station on the coast of Antarctica. Right now we're here in the Southern Ocean at 50 degrees south. Out on the deck of the Aurora Australis, it's a bracing 5 degrees. Too cold for comfort, but Australians will barbecue anywhere, anytime, for any reason. Nearly everyone here is a member of ANARE, Australian National Antarctic Research Expeditions. But you can pick the ship's crew, they're the ones in the t-shirts. We are celebrating crossing the Antarctic convergence. It means we're leaving the Southern Ocean now for the colder waters of Antarctica. This is an initiation for all of us about to enter Antarctica.
Jamie, get up here, I want you.
I guess you could call it a kind of bonding for those who have to live together for a year on the ice. It's Dr. Suzanne Barr's turn. She's a geophysicist going to Mawson Station.
The rest of you lot, turn around and close your eyes. Right, movie there, girl.
Australian women began wintering in the Antarctic in the early 1980s. They're a tolerant lot.
Up you get. You can be a policy rover for the Ask me another boy.
Tim Bowden, where are you?
Everyone from station leaders to lowly round trippers like me have to grovel before King Neptune. Watching this was a lot more fun.
What do you see in front of you, Tim?
Just a wonderful, gorgeous person.
From the ground up.
Are they real?
So much for my first rite of passage.
Real. Arise, Sir Tim.
I'm knighted.
And adjust me grant.
I must say we were all delighted to see the end of King Neptune. I wonder what else I'll have to go through to get to Antarctica. We are 6 days out of Hobart, and at last, the first ice. It's the beginning of spring now. The great bands of pack ice are starting to break up. But it's still a barrier for ships trying to reach the continent. In 1948, ANARE used a little wooden tub, the Wyatt Earp, to try and reach Antarctica. They were looking for a site to build a future station, but they had absolutely no chance of breaking through the pack in this. She was hopelessly inadequate for the job. It wasn't until 1954 that Australians finally broke through to the continent using an ice-strengthened steel ship, the Kista Dam. ANARE has been going to Antarctica every year since then. On this voyage, I'm sharing cabin D26 with Peter Mellick. 3 months ago, he was driving tourist buses. Since then, Pete's been training to take over as station leader at Casey. It's his first time in Antarctica. What's more, he has a brother at Casey who he hasn't seen for 7 years.
Well, here's to a good Casey year.
Good luck. Cheers, thank you.
Cheers. So there's a whole group of people there that have been isolated for the winter. What do you think it's like for them to have not only you, but people come in from the outside?
I think this is pretty special, and I think for them it's going to require quite a lot of sensitivity in the time that we come in to just, make allowances, if you like, and just not be too pushy in coming in and give them some time to adjust.
The nights are getting shorter, but we still need our searchlights to look out for icebergs. Below, in the bowels of the ship, yet another rite of passage is underway. Something strange is happening as we get closer to Antarctica. Respected meteorologists, botanists, biologists and technicians are shedding the last vestiges of conventional life.
It's so sensitively done.
As official historian, I'm interested in all aspects of the Australian Antarctic experience.
What's the record time you've done one here?
3 minutes. Ow! But I'm ex-Navy. That's all it's on your ear now.
Unfortunately, I'm standing in the queue. One beautifully timed lunge, and I join the ranks of the tonsorially mutilated.
Are we in trouble? We are in trouble.
My God, what have they done to me?
Beautiful! Hey, Bellissimo! Hey, that side. He wants one on the other side.
It takes 4 voyages a year to change over the personnel and resupply Australia's 4 stations. There used to be 2 ships to do it, but this year, because of budget cuts, there's only 1. The Aurora Australis isn't a full icebreaker, but her specially strengthened bow rides up on the ice and crashes through with the weight of the ship.
30 and 5. 40 and 10.
Sea ice is an important part of research into global warming.
5 and 0.
Even before we reach Antarctica, its thickness and distribution is being measured by climatologists like Andrew Watkins.
It's hypothesised that the poles would show greenhouse warming quite early on. And yes, if the ice got thinner, if the extent got less, if there was more open water in between the ice, that'd be a definite indicator of greenhouse warming. And that's what a lot of this research is heading towards.
This is what we've been waiting for, the first icebergs. We're actually looking at chunks of Antarctica which have broken off the continent and drifted out to meet us. Eventually, they'll float out to destruction in the Southern Ocean. For old hands like our chef Greg, it's hardly worth looking out the porthole. He hasn't got time anyway, cooking for more than 100 people 3 times a day. Dinner is served at the rather uncivilised hour of 5:30.
Oh, I'll go for some of the garlic chicken.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Okay. And some mashed potatoes and some broccoli. And could I even go some carrots?
Certainly.
I'm not going to lose weight on this walk.
The mess is the only area on the ship big enough to have everyone together in the one place. For the first time, I can see the full extent of last night's ritual mutilation.
Oh, you'd lost them. I've lost my eyebrows. There's nothing there.
Is this some manifestation of strange, bizarre Antarctic behaviour before you even get there?
We're chosen by the fact that we're psychotic in the first place. Otherwise, you don't go down. Normal people don't go down to Antarctica.
Why are you going down?
I'm not normal.
I'm not sure anyone's normal by now. There's simply no way of preparing yourself for this.
We've seen photos and we've seen slides and the video footage, but it's just not the same. It's just extraordinary.
Helen's a microbiologist and Ashley is a weather observer.
Yeah, you just can't comprehend it. Yeah, it's almost overwhelming, actually.
Helen's here to study possible effects of the hole in the ozone layer on the food chain in the Southern Ocean.
It could really damage this normal cycling of carbon and nutrients within the Southern Ocean. And you're looking at such a rich environment here. And if those nutrients don't get constantly recycled, the food chain will start to fall apart. So we're really interested to see which organisms are affected.
Victor November Juliet, KC base. This is Aurora Australis, Victor November Alpha.
We're close enough now for direct radio contact with the station leader at Casey.
We've had an excellent run since we left Hobart, and we're still looking at being at the fly-off point, but probably Saturday afternoon sometime.
Martin Betts, the voyage leader, is making last-minute plans for our arrival in Antarctica.
You might see some of us on Saturday afternoon evening.
All the helicopter pilots, Tony, at least those there, will be in front of the red shed again.
The main job at Casey is to change over the personnel, and we'll start doing that as soon as we get within flying range. There are real dangers when you're flying over sea ice and water.
Tim, we're required to wear a life immersion suit over water. We'll be travelling 20 miles over water, so it's a requirement to have this on. If you don't have it on, you've got life expectancy about 2 to 3 minutes.
2 to 3 minutes?
Yeah, 2 to 3 minutes. So I think you're advisable to put it on.
and with this, how long have I got?
You've got 8 hours.
Oh, 8 hours?
Yes.
I mean, that's
8 hours.
Definite plus, isn't it?
Tony Scolari is flying us in. Everyone has to go through this safety drill.
Right.
Climbing into an immersion suit is like pulling on a gigantic red condom with gumboots. But if we go down, this suit will keep me alive for 8 hours. It's a comforting thought, but this is high tech compared with flying down here in the early days. Aircraft have always been an important part of Australian Antarctic exploration. Sir Douglas Mawson took a plane on his 1929 and 1931 voyages. It was real string and sealing wax stuff. He used the aircraft to help chart a large part of the coastline of Antarctica. Mawson flew over the ice cap and threw down a flag, claiming a vast area of the continent for the British Empire and Australia. Today, 7 nations maintain Antarctic claims, and Australia's is the biggest. It extends from beneath the Indian Ocean all the way round almost to Africa. That's 42% of Antarctica. The pack ice is getting thicker now, up to 4 metres in places. There's growing excitement on board. Tomorrow, some of us will be flying into Antarctica. 140 kilometres off the coast. We've got 4 days scheduled to fly all the new people from the ship to Casey Station. The choppers have to carry enough fuel to get us back to the ship from any stage of the flight if the weather closes in. They haven't lost anyone yet, but everyone is aware that this is a critical and potentially dangerous part of our journey. Nothing can really prepare you for this gut-wrenching moment of liftoff. All around, as far as I can see, there's just unending white. It's difficult to see how big the icebergs are from up here. There's just no sense of scale. This one's about 1 kilometre wide. Casey Station is on the coast of Wilkes Land. It's a prime piece of Antarctic real estate built on solid rock. And there it is, the most modern of all Australia's Antarctic stations. For station leader Wing Commander Angie Rhodes and her 19 winterers locked away for 7 months, this is the first contact with the outside world. So this is it, Antarctica at last. This is the main living quarters at Casey. Curiously enough, the locals call it the Red Shed. They seem pleased to see us, but they're really more interested in what we've brought with us, vegetables and fresh fruit. For Pete Mellick, it's his first look at his new home for the next year.
Medicinal purposes only, of course. Nice stuff, mate, nice. Yeah, this is for you, mate.
We've also brought their first mail since last summer.
You haven't got a knife on you, James.
Don't need a knife.
This is crazy.
New music.
These are the private ones.
Oh yeah, but these are the ones.
For these people, it's the first tangible connection with family and friends. There must be a sense of unreality about all this.
Surprise, a little surprise, mate.
What is it?
A box of 3/6 nuts.
You should feel privileged.
Pete Mellick has finally caught up with his brother Dave.
Music. New stuff.
I feel a bit like an intruder at someone else's Christmas party.
Oh, is this
Ordinary everyday things take on a special meaning down here.
And this is Mum's new car. She got a little Mazda 121, and that's my Moggy. She's about, 1977 we got it.
What's that make her then?
Old. That's Mum. Well, she's not looking too bad actually. Mum's very proud of her garden, and that's the sort of thing you miss is the greenery. We notice when we see videos and that sort of thing where there's lots of trees and grass and that sort of thing, yeah, you think, oh, I think that smells will be something that you'll notice, because in a lot of ways it's very sterile down here from that point of view. You just don't have the natural smells around, apart from over at the penguins and around the elephant seal wallows, but yeah. and that's quite oppressive.
They've been living on tinned and frozen food all winter and have been fantasising for months about this meal. There's almost a reverential silence in the mess, but Angie's only got 4 days to tell Pete about his new station. People are coming in from the ship all the time, but the old hands won't start flying out until they've briefed the new arrivals. I'm tagging along while Angie shows Pete around the place.
Peter, do you feel that you know this place? I mean, you've never been here before, but you must have studied it deeply in other ways. Now you're actually here.
Yes, that's true enough in a way, though, to actually get here. It's quite a funny feeling to actually stand on High Street as such and look around and see the red shed for real and the green shed and all the rest of it. So, yeah, a lot of preparation, but really until you finally get here, you don't really understand. And meeting Angie as well, I mean, we've talked on the phone for 3 months or even longer and chatted about all sorts of things, and it's quite funny to actually meet face to face.
The red shed's bursting at the seams, and I still don't know where I'll be bunking down.
Yeah, and down here we have the old living vans, which we use for transiting people. We don't have enough accommodation in the red shed for everybody that we have in over the summer, but yeah, they're quite comfortable.
It's where you're staying, isn't it, Tim?
I thought he was joking, but I'm about to experience the old-style Inari accommodation known as a donga. This used to be a cargo container. Now it's a bit like a fridge with the warmth inside rather than out. I guess you could call this life in the freezer. It's a bit of history, really, a reminder of how they used to live down here. There have been 3 stations built in this area. The first was Wilkes, handed over to Australia by the Americans back in 1959. It kept on icing up and had to be abandoned. Then Australia began building a replacement station in 1965. It was an ingenious design with a connecting tunnel built on stilts so it didn't ice over. It lasted for nearly 20 years before blizzards and rust made it uninhabitable. It's after 9 at night, but there's still time for a bit of exploring with the Mellick brothers. At minus 20 degrees out here, it's so cold it hurts every time you breathe. We're actually on an island, just 10 minutes walk over the sea ice from the station.
Yeah, this is a good spot. It's spot come to a lot in winter. You'll come down here a lot, Pete, being station leader. Place to drive you nuts and you want to get away, so you come here and just sit and look at the bergs or just look at the penguins. Well, they're not here in winter, but it's a good spot to get away.
You can tell spring is in the air. The first Adelie penguins have started coming ashore.
The penguins seem to be very active at the moment.
Active, yeah, they're a bit frisky, eh? No, the males have come in and the females are now fighting over the males. That's the way it works. It's the exact opposite of what's happening back at the red shed. I miss a lot not having a partner, and especially second time round, I think.
And I'm about to.
It's been a long first day in Antarctica, but I've still got some work to do. All the early station records are here in the library. It's a treasure trove of history. When Australians came to nearby Wilkes Station in 1959, there was a death in that first year. The full story's in the station logbook. Somehow, the diesel mechanic, Hartley Robinson, was crushed under his own tractor. He's buried over at Wilkes, and I've got a special reason for going there. Robinson's family will never be able to come to Antarctica, and they've asked me to visit their father's grave. If the weather holds, that's where I'm going on the next part of our journey.